Can I ask you to mute, please? Can I ask the dear participant to mute, please, and turn their camera off so we can have good links? Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. On behalf of the Middle East Water Forum and German Water Partnership, we would like to welcome you to our second webinar on new water technologies to achieve water security in the Arab region. My name is Jamar Sagir. I'm professor at McGill University, former director of the World Bank, and also distinguished fellow at the AUB, Essam Faris Institute. I'm speaking to you from one area not far from the city that had received the biggest explosion 3 weeks ago. I'm in Beirut, not far from the port, where my house is, where we are reconstructing, and where we are resilient. You see me in my house, which was damaged, but we were able to rebuild because we Lebanese always believe in rebuilding. I'm very privileged to be your chair today to discuss a subject which is close to our heart. As you know, water in the MENA region is highly linked to economic growth, food security, conflict, migration, employment, and the human rights, all of which are shaped by the management and access to water resources and technology transfer. Indeed, 60% of population in MENA lives in an area of high water stress compared to only 35% of the global average. And 70% of MENA GDP is also generated in such area compared to a global average of 22%. Yet, nowhere else in the world is water so unsustainably managed, from expensive and energy-intensive practice to poor and wasteful one, and behind implementation of new technologies. The Arab region is plagued with an overall intermittent water supply and a significant competition to water among economic sector. Water and food in the region are also interlinked, where we have 85% of water is used for agricultural purposes. And that's another area where the technology has been lagging, and we have seen traditional sector still based on traditional technology, and we have not seen major breakthrough to have much better production of food to serve to be able to feed this region. Adding to that, with 2/3 of its water coming from outside the region, the Arab region need to place regional cooperation for transboundary management on its priority list. The approach to water in the region has been largely supply-led, with a focus on access and infrastructure, while to focus on resilience remain in infancy. In this context, the Arab leader will need to reshape the regional vision for sustainable development, resilient action, climate action, technology-driven, to be able to shape the new Arab water strategies for the region. The region is currently uncharted territories and face similar, perhaps unique pattern of changing patterning of water and food. The region must pave the way for the way forward using water climate adaptation and resilience. In sum, what is needed is to diagnose and look at the technology adaptation status in the region, including barrier and opportunity for improved investment in the design of project, whatever wastewater, water, irrigation project, anything, but we need to think about bankable project that will be able to be affordable also. We need to build on spotlight example of innovative solution while analyzing their potential for transferability and scalability. And in my opinion, innovation in water technology from water supply, such as desalination and solar pumping, to industrial efficiency, such as more efficient water use to agriculture, such as crop production, show huge potential for achieving water security in the Arab region. We need to do better, we need to do more, we need to speed up, we need to scale up. I'm very pleased that the Water Forum and Cooperation with German Watership are hosting this panel to share idea and insight on the topic. And here what we plan to do. First, I would like to give a few minutes to our colleague, Ms. Julia Braun, the German Water Partnership, to give us her introductory remark. Then I will ask Dr. Hassan Al-Bunga, the Vice Chair of the Middle East Water Forum, to give us also a few remarks. Then we will open the panel, and I will have questions to our esteemed panelists that I will present after the first introduction. and we will have a Q&A of 30 minutes at the end of this. We plan to finish in around 2 hours, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you very much for your attention. Julia?
Thank you very much, Professor Jamal Saghir. Thank you for chairing the session today that we proudly organized together with the Middle East Water Forum. And I'd like to thank our esteemed partner for many years, the former Minister for Water and Irrigation of Jordan and the founder of the Middle East Water Forum, His Excellency Dr. Hazim El-Nasser. Thank you very much for hosting the session together with us. And I'd like to welcome all the participants from the MENA region, from Germany, and especially our international guests of honor, His Excellency Professor Faisal bin Sultan Al Zubayr, the former Deputy Minister for Water in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, welcome, and His Excellency Dr. Abdelkawi Khalifa, former Minister of Water and Wastewater Utilities in Egypt. We're very glad to have you here with us today, and I'm looking very much forward to the panel discussion that will follow. As Professor Saghir has already mentioned, we're facing great challenges at the moment. Not only the worldwide pandemic, I think that has affected us all in our lives, in our business, in the way we travel and make contacts. And I'm glad that the international water community is at least still able to stay in contact and to foster exchange via digital means as we do today. Now, I think more than ever before, it is time to face and solve the challenges that are posed by climate change, and scarce water resources. And we all know that the MENA region is especially affected and a very scarce water region. And what we would like to do is today discuss ways of how the German water sector maybe can support in solving these challenges and add a bit of know-how and exchange towards this. What does German Water Partnership do? We were founded in 2008 from the background that the German water sector has 150 years of tradition and experience with highly innovative technology and technology with long life cycles and a high energy efficiency. So German Water Partnership today unites roughly 350 members from the German water sector, private sector companies, research institutes, university, utilities, engineering companies. Many of them have already strong ties to the region, and some of these representatives will speak to you today. Our goal as an association is to bring together partners, expertise, and demand in the water sector. And with this in mind, we have organized roundtables, workshops, conferences, such as the German Water Partnership Day in 2019 in Egypt and Cairo with more than 180 participants. And we have supported the Arab Countries Water Utilities Association over the last 4 years in its development. At the moment, most of our activities are online, but we hope to travel soon again and meet our present and our future partners in the MENA region. Hopefully also for the WATREX in Cairo in Egypt in 2021, where we will be organizing the German Pavilion. I would like to invite all of you on this occasion also to take part in our online special on industrial water management in the MENA region, which will take place on September 1st, where you can find more information on our website. But for now, I'm looking forward to today's discussion with representatives, high ranking from the MENA region and also from the German companies. And with this, I hand over again to Professor Jamal Saghir. Thank you.
Many thanks, Julia, for your initial remark. And no doubt the German technology and the work that you do as an association is crucial to transfer that technology. Now I'm going to ask Hassan to give us his initial remark from the Middle East Water Forum perspective.
Yes, thanks so much, Professor Jamal Saghir, on chairing this distinguished panel. And on behalf of the Middle East Water Forum, I'd like to welcome all the panelists and the participants to this seminar, an important topic of new water technologies, which aim to leapfrog forward toward achieving water security for all in the most water scarce region in the world. Actually, I'm talking from Cologne in the west of Germany, so it's a channel between the Arab region and German water industry. And today we have more than 170 registered for this seminar from different countries around the world. And for that, I'd like to thank you all for your participation. And to give you in a nutshell a brief about the Middle East Water Forum, the forum is a unique and pioneer platform for all water stakeholders in the Middle East. And the idea of it is to connect all these different stakeholders from policy, industries, private sector, international and regional organizations and academia together to advance knowledge and action toward achieving water security for all. And a great part of this is to sharing the state of the art of technologies in the field of water and sanitation. As you know, as already we say that the Arab region is the most water scarce region, have been facing greater challenges coupled with current challenges of climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. All of this have put a great pressure on our socio-economic development, vulnerability of our water resources, and the way we manage water today. We had actually a great webinar and recently on the relation between water security and COVID-19, and it's clear that many leapfrogging opportunities are in technologies, and yet for our countries, leapfrogging in water sector specifically is quite challenging, which requires from us to look before we leap. And with this seminar, our distinguished panel would highlight the main challenges and cooperations between the Arab and German water sectors, benefiting from their expertise in this regard as a trusted world leader in water technologies. And to give a short brief on what we mean by water security, we would like just to give this about to know more about this issue. And I would like to thank you all for joining our seminar, and up to you, Professor Gamal.
Many thanks, Hassan. Before we start with the panelists, let me give you some general information. First, we plan to record this session, and I would like to inform all the participants that this session is recorded. Second, since we have a lot of people from the technology world in Germany around the world, if you have any specific technology that you would like to share with us, we put the email of Hassan and Hazem in the chat room. Please send it to us. We'll make sure it's being diffused to everybody and it's being explained to everybody, because we need this idea. We need those breakthrough technology, and we will make sure that the Middle East Water Forum and the Global Water Germany Water Partnership make sure that this is diffused to the maximum number of clients, especially the countries that they need to know about that, and those that will make the decision. So these are some of the issues that I would like to raise up front. Now, let me come back to the panel, and let me start with His Excellency Dr. Hazem Al-Nasser. Dr. Hazem Al-Nasser, you have been on the front line of water for many years in Jordan as well around the world. You've seen how technology could be an impediment to development, or could be one way of pushing us in leapfrog development. How can we combine new technology in water desalination, irrigated agriculture, and solar energy to impact positively the life of the people in the Arab world?
Well, thank you, Professor Jamal. And also I would like to join my colleagues to welcome all participants in this distinguished online seminar on introduction of technologies to combat the water security in the Arab world. And Jamal, I would like also to thank you for the beautiful introduction you did about the Arab region and Middle East, and the way you described the situation and the problem. For that, really, I thank you. As you might know, the Arab region is a very scarce region. with 17 countries out of 22 below the water poverty line. And projections for the future are not that nice. It's very dark in terms of water availability, water demand. And that's why one of the most important elements in trying to alleviate the water shortage problem in the Arab region is by introducing the new technologies. And actually, over the last 20 years, Arab countries tried their best to introduce technologies. It's not enough, it's not what we wish, but they managed over the last 20 years with the available technologies that we could adopt, at least to maintain the status quo of water demand and supply and keeping almost shortages as constant as we wish. Having said all of that, there is no other way to deal with the water scarcity problem in the Arab region over the coming years, apart from introducing the new technologies, smart solution, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. Because creating water is not an easy business, and it's not available to every country. I know desalination is solving a large part or a good part of the problem that we have in the Middle East, but there are countries they don't have the ability to desalinate water because either they don't have access to sea or they don't have cheap energy. And that's why they have to rely on new technologies. The combination of the three components you mentioned, Jamal, which is new technologies, smart technologies in the area of irrigated agriculture, in the area of desalination, as well as solar energy. If we combine all these technologies together, we might end up with a product that is affordable and can help countries either in securing part of their food security, partially. We are not talking about full sufficiency of food production. We are saying partially, and also securing drinking water at a very affordable price. For that, we need the technologies at the three components. We need the new technologies for desalination, new membranes, efficiency, etc. When it comes to agriculture, we need the introduction of new technologies like, you name it, loggers for soil moisture, micro drips, hydroponic, selection of certain crops that can take the salinity of water in certain areas, plus the possibility of utilizing the solar energy, which is something we have in the Arab world, and it's not available to many regions in the world. So if we combine all these three, I think we can bring prosperity and comfort to people in the Arab region and bring stability to the countries that are lacking stability due to lack of water, due to lack of food, due to high prices related to food production. Thank you, Jamal.
No, many thanks, Hazem. I think you put it nicely in the challenges between the different subsectors and how we have to leapfrog by bringing the artificial intelligence at the same time by looking at the issue of new technology. Now, let me come to His Excellency Faisal bin Sultan, who, as you know, is right now the president of the Knowledge Consultancy and Research Company and former Deputy Minister for Water at the Ministry of Environment in Saudi Arabia. Your Excellency, you have an experience in the kingdom which is unique, where, as I said earlier in my introduction remark, when you start working on desalination, many other countries were still wondering where to develop this technology. And here the kingdom was able to leapfrog it because there was a need for that. So if I look at, from your experience and knowing the region, and under the current water scarcity in the Arab region in general, and in Saudi Arabia in particular, what are the main challenges that you see need to be addressed to enhance water security and to respond to the concern that Dr. Hazem just mentioned in terms of moving on those technologies. And from your personal experience, especially that you have been on the front line of developing some of those ideas in the kingdom.
Thank you very much, Jamal, and thank you for all of us for having this meeting. You know, it's really the water issue are very important for across the world. You know, as your questions, and in fact, we have a lot of challenges in Saudi Arabia about water and agriculture, and it's related to the supply and demand aspects. However, you know, the technology needs to be developed as, you know, through partnership projects. Ready solution is not be, you know, enough to tackle the real problems in different regions of the world, since many, you know, circumstances are different from region to region, from as climate and even the water resources and the demand of the food. There is a lot of changes, you know, so we need to establish, you know, a relationship where we can work together to develop a specific technology which will be really good to address the specific challenge in each region. And also I would like to mention that in spite of the, you know, the success of Saudi Arabia about water destination, it's really a good achievement, but in fact, it has, you know, environmental and financial, you know, challenge as well. So we need also new technology to reduce the energy which used to produce the water from the desalination technology. Inside also, we'd like to see how can we do some, you know, improvement in the transportation and the consumption also aspect. So the human factor is really important. How can we manage the demand without, you know, tackling the consumer, you know, habits and the loss of water and the increase of the amount of the water used by in different sectors. For example, in agriculture, as you mentioned, Jamal, that in the beginning, that agriculture consume around 85% of the water, you know, demand. It's across the world. We have this problem, and we need to reduce this amount by new technology and by introducing, you know, a way of reducing food, specified, you know, designed and developed according to the different regions. For example, we need to also try to change the consumer habit, food, you know, selection. Why we go to, for example, to go to rice in Saudi Arabia, for example, while we didn't have amount, you know, good amount of water. So we need to change this habit, food habit, and how the people use maybe different crops in their food, and instead of, you know, depending on rice, which they cannot produce it in local. So there's a lot of, you know, things, but these things can be, you know, developed through real, you know, partnership to see where the problems, how can we tackle the problems, what the right technology. This is like, you know, a joint work. I would like to really highlight this issue that we need to work as, you know, as teams. How can we develop the new technology based on the required requirements and the specific conditions of each country, and the benefit will be for all of us, the technology producers and also the technology users. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Many thank you, Your Excellency. I think I fully agree with you. I think if we have to leapfrog, we have to work on different partnership. And this is not only South-South, it's North-South, East-West. And I think any transfer of technology, especially smart technology, will have to be done in partnership. By the way, the German experience in transferring technology through partnership is very interesting. I've seen it in East Asia, I've seen it in South Latin America, and they have models where really they can match the demand and the different technology to really to specific solution that I've seen it in Argentina, I've seen it in China. So this is very important aspect. Let me come back now to His Excellency Abdelkader Khalifa, who spent many years as minister and then also most of his life, if I look at it well in your CV, Your Excellency, on issue of water management. And I have a simple question for you. Applying smart system in water management. Smart system can save a lot of water and money, as you know. Why we are not able to do it as we should have done it maybe 10 years ago, like other countries have done it? And can you give us, from your experience, what are the impediment? Is it money? Is it the technology per se are not adapted? Is it an issue of transfer of the technology? What is it that we are not able really to have the smart system in place like any other places in the world? Your Excellency.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank you, Professor Gamal, and I would like to remind you that we met in Washington 15 years ago. I don't know if you remember or not.
Of course, I remember you.
Okay.
I remember you.
I will answer your question, but let me first say a few words about the situation we are facing in the Arab countries or in Egypt. As His Excellency has mentioned that this region, he said 17 countries below the water poverty, but I think there are more now. Mean that we have more than 17 countries. The water resources per capita is less than 1,000 cubic meter per capita per year. And some of these countries much lower than that. But anyhow, to overcome this problem, we should work in two avenues: development of water resources or water conservation, plus the good management of the sector, applying smart technology in the operation, asset management, and the most important subject is the awareness program to our people to feel the value of the water. Most of the Arab countries or our population in these countries, they don't feel the value of the water these days. I think we start developing the water resources in Egypt using desalinated reuse of the wastewater. But we face the problem of two problems with the desalination. It's very high solar energy consumer, it's very high energy consumer, and at the same time we receive brine with very high TDS, which is polluting the water. I think these two problems we would like to introduce to the industry to help us in trying to find a way to save energy or to cheap energy, like His Excellency mentioned that we have the solar energy available everywhere in the Middle East. I think if we can use this solar energy for desalination, that will be very helpful. Also, the prime water with high TDS, if we can apply it in the industry to produce profitable items, that will be very helpful for us too. The other side is the reuse of the wastewater. Actually, we should look for very cost technologies to treat the wastewater, because we have wastewater from the municipality and wastewater from agriculture, which is very high amount of water. Going back to your question, I think it's very important for us to apply technologies and smart system, because that will save a lot of money and water. Why we didn't apply these systems before? I think because we just heard about this system few years ago. And we're right now in Egypt, we start on all the new cities, apply the smart utilities. And we realize that applying the smart utilities will save a lot of water in our networks. And we lose a lot of water because we don't have we didn't apply the smart systems. We don't know anything about the networks under the ground. But when you apply the smart system, you can know what's happened when you have leakage, how the amount of leakage from the system. I think all this we will never reach, or we will never see unless we apply the smart systems. And also we change our codes in Egypt to enforce that we should use the saving devices everywhere. I think what we are looking from the new technology is mainly in the desalination, how we can produce pure water from the salt water or from the seawater with low cost. This is a very important issue, how we can reuse, how we can treat the water also by low cost, because the key of the game is the cost. If we can get desalinated and reuse the water in low cost, that will be very helpful to our countries. And I think we are looking for the industry to get these two issues: the low cost desalinated water, low cost treated wastewater, low cost smart system to apply everywhere. And thank you very much.
Many thank you, Excellency. I think you put it nicely, and you are helping us now go to our German colleague. Let me start with Felix, who has an extensive experience, and as mentioned, director of ARSEN North Africa and wastewater. Felix, you heard His Excellency, you heard Dr. Hazem, you heard Faisal, what they said. There is a demand. We know what the demand. We have the technology, but somehow there are some impediments. From your perspective, who has been doing international business management for many, many years, what are those impediments that are not allowing us to implement this new technology? What are those impediments where we are not able to respond to customer expectation? And are those financial? Are those legal? Are those regulatory? From your perspective, and how can we reach the decision maker to make those changes? What's your advice from somebody from the industry to the policy maker in these countries?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining today, Mr. Jamal Saghir, today. Yes, there are a number of challenges, and we've identified quite a few when we're talking to the industry and to our customers. As you know, we're present for more than 50 years in the region with a complete office and workshop. The market is asking today much more for a number of facts. And I have four to present to you. One is to deliver complete solutions. And that means we, the industry, tend to talk too much about technology, and which is very nice to deliver 5 pages or 10 pages of specifications, but the customer wants a complete solution. So we have to move into a modus operandi where we deliver and install complete solutions. And this is something we need to intensively do with our partners. We need to take into consideration the climate conditions. The average temperature is rising. The machines and equipment needs to be adapted to this new environment. The second point is really on the customer's expectations and those that operate the wastewater treatment plants, for instance. one important aspect today is energy efficiency. The CO2 ecological footprint is also something that is very important, because if you fulfill that, you are eligible to additional funding and financial support, for instance. Then there is obviously the optimized usage, service and maintenance, as well as artificial intelligence that is being required. Then the other point is the expectation is on plug and play solutions with monitoring to know at an early stage if something goes wrong on an installation. And we have obviously alternatives when it comes to energy recovery solutions due to providing heat exchangers. So that provides another exchange or another energy saving. Third point is the market changes. Well, there are obviously the big operators who look for the big contracts, but there are many medium and small wastewater treatment installations that offer a lot of potential, and most of them, or a lot of them today, are really subject to a refit and or a capacity increase because they are outdated, they're 20, 30, 40 years old, and that obviously costs a lot of money. Now, on the other side, we have a number of engineering consultants who still specify material and systems that are maybe not to the latest standards, carefully expressed, obviously. I don't want to hurt anyone here, but we've seen some very unusual tender requirements recently. And then fourth point is the financial issues. I think we can expect that the COVID has put a lot of stress on the financial situations of a lot of cities and countries. There are alternatives for that, and that means we should look at offering rental solutions with full service and warranty, which basically means, summarized, we move away from CapEx to OpEx, which obviously would be a good alternative. Yes, that's in a summary what I have to say here. Obviously, I can reach out to other expectations if you want.
No, but many thanks. This is exactly what you said is very important, that it's not about the customer now has changed their need. They want complete solution that address environmental issue, technical issue, financial issue, and energy efficiency issue, and a decreased CO2. So I think you are absolutely right, and the customer around the world is thinking in this term. The question would be then affordability and what kind of technology or artificial technology can deliver to this client, which brings me now to the question to Alexandra Erbenich, who is the corporate manager of Mitsubishi Water and at the same time head of the German Water Partnership for Regional Section in North Africa. Alexandra, you heard so far your colleague giving us the big picture, mentioning the need to translate the technology. How would you see artificial intelligence contributing to more efficiency in the water sector? And since the water sector has a scarcity issue, is a problem of affecting country who struggle with resource and investment, how can this country afford this new technology, including automation, digital solution, even AI, or even the smart basic technology that could be interesting, but not affordable to some countries? I'm talking about the countries that cannot afford. I'm not talking only about the rich country in the Gulf, but there are some countries, Tunisia, I can imagine in the future, Yemen, Iraq. I don't think they can always afford that kind of technology. So what's your take, and what is this technology, and how this could be maybe better for the long term rather than focusing only on the short term outcome, thinking about the long term outcome by introducing this technology quickly? Alexandra?
Thank you very much, Professor Jamal, and
good
morning.
We can see you.
No, I don't use the camera. I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, fine.
All right. So let me first explain how a global manufacturer of industrial and automation technologies sees this water scarcity problem. I mean, this is not, we can of course not solve all the reasons of the long list of reasons for water scarcity. However, there is quite a long or quite a so modern automation and digital technologies cannot solve demographic, climate, or political reasons, of course. However, these technologies can address and mitigate some of them substantially. And they can, for instance, contribute to reduce physical water losses. We have heard that from the previous speakers that there is a massive loss of the precious goods, which is the water, in the pipelines, for instance. I have in front of me a study of the World Bank Group from 2016, which reported a physical water loss of 32 billion cubic meters per year globally. So just to bring or to explain this figure, it is a huge number, of course, but 32 billion cubic meters equate to the yearly water consumption of Europe, not the European Union with 500 million, but the whole European continent, imagine. So first problem we have to address is the water loss reduction. Then we have to address the ease of operation and maintenance. There are many institutional and operational failures still in the utilities. We have to address the topic of energy efficiency. Water treatment systems are high consumers of electricity, and a reduction of the energy consumption has a direct effect on the operational cost, absolutely. So these all are topics we can address with our modern automation and digital technologies. And now coming to the artificial intelligence in particular, digitalization, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence long ago have left the academic ivory tower and are really operative today and contribute to a much higher efficiency than conventional systems. Many people are still shying away from artificial intelligence because it is linked to very complicated, very expensive technologies and so on. But this is not the case. I mean, we as a manufacturer in the industry, in automation, in the digitalization, we just use it as a tool, and to make everything and the operation and the management of water treatment assets much more easier for the customer. The customer himself, he has not to be into artificial intelligence. I mean, this is our job actually. We just help the customer to make it easier and much more efficient, and help him to save money, you know. And if we talk about artificial intelligence, for instance, we, Mitsubishi Electric, we have developed a system for the precise control of urban water systems, the freshwater distribution systems. It is called Aquatoria. This system helps to reduce leakages drastically. It is based on AI, on neural networks, sophisticated algorithms, and so on. But this is not the customer has to deeply understand. He is just the user of the system, and it makes it very easy for him to use it. And we have references where the customer could cut the leakages by typically 7%. He saves energy between 15 and 40%. He has a significant reduction of pipeline burst, and he increases the lifetime of his equipment. So these all are benefits which are very important to save water on the one hand, and to help to save the budget also at the same time. Talking about artificial intelligence, you also have the possibility to create digital twins. Also, this sounds very abstract, but in fact, this helps to run a water treatment plant always at optimal efficiency. We've done this, for instance, with Yorkshire Water in the UK, where we created a digital twin of a wastewater aeration plant to better understand all the factors affecting the operation and in order to ensure that the real world process always performs at optimal efficiency. And in fact, the customer saves a lot of chemicals, a lot of energy, and he was able to show an ROE, so return on investment, within 1 year. So artificial intelligence is not always expensive. Yeah. And coming to the second part of your question, how countries which do not have a rich budget for these water utilities and so on, how can they afford those modern and new technologies? Let me simply answer with a simple calculation. Considering the high amount of non-revenue water in these countries, there is a huge amount of money at the same time, which has simply been lost. Let us take the example of Egypt, simply because I know the figures in this country better than others. And Egypt produces, or the holding company for water and wastewater in Egypt produces approximately 25 million of cubic meters per day. And still 2 years ago, the physical losses, I think Dr. Abdelkawi Khalifa confirmed that before, the 2 years ago, they still lost 35% of this produced water. If we calculate 35% of the 25 million cubic meters, that means a water loss of 8.75 million per day. If you assume an average water price, still without sewage fares, just the water price, and prices in Egypt vary very much from a few piastres for the poor people up to 25 pounds per cubic meter in the upper class residential compounds. It is a subsidized system, and my personal opinion, a very fair system, because the poor people pay less for the water and the rich people take the higher burden because they simply have more money. So anyway, let us assume a price of 13 Egyptian pounds per cubic meter. We end up with an amount of 113.75 million Egyptian pounds. For our European friends, in euros, these are more than 6 million euros every day. So if you are able to bill and to really, that this water really reaches the people and is being built, even with a average price, this is a huge money. You can buy a lot of water and energy saving modern technologies for. Yeah, and in fact, Egypt has done this exactly, because if you see the reports from the holding company, they could achieve a reduction of physical water losses from 35% in the fiscal year 17-18 down to 24% in 18-19. And this is a significant recovery of their operation cost. And one last comment on the cost and on the budgets. We quite often see that the countries buy very expensive technologies for one part of the project, for instance, high or expensive irrigation technologies. We have seen expensive pivot irrigation systems, for instance, but without any control. So what is the meaning for it? Then you have some people who are managing or operating the system, maybe in the middle of the day during the sun when the energy is very high. So the cost is very high. So better to do it automatically, maybe during the nighttime when there is no evaporation, and maybe energy tariffs are cheaper according to the needs of the plants. So you can make it much more efficient if you plan also an automated control. Thank you very much.
Alexandra, many thanks. I wish you presented your slide now that
we have more time. I'm pleased to do that.
No, but I wanted to send it to the chat room because really, if you can.
Sure, we will do that.
I think if you can, it will be useful. But it was very clear. Two clear messages, which are, in my opinion, very important. Artificial intelligence is not an end in itself. It's a tool toward improving our life. It could be done at an affordable way. Artificial intelligence doesn't mean it should have to be expensive. There is way to finance it by increasing efficiency. And the example of Egypt that you have put is excellent. Just to let you know, in the Arab region, the average unaccounted for water is around 45%. Maybe Egypt at 35, but I know other places at 50 or 55%. So imagine how much we can gain by shifting some of these losses, financial losses and economic losses, to put into smart technology, artificial energy to move us. Which now brings me to our last speaker, Dr. Joachim Grabmann, who has a huge career and is changer, how he call it, in the field of sewage technology. As you know, this is a region which has not been doing very well on neither wastewater, neither sewage, or reuse, or pumping reused water in the aquifer, as we've seen it in California and other places around the world. So the question for me is, what is pushing us not to move to that direction? And I think from your perspective, if I look at the fact that 80% of wastewater is discharged directly into the natural environment without any form of treatment in the region, that's a crime, frankly. When a region where wastewater could be used, could be cleaned, and we could become as part of the water supply, like I recall, Jordan has done it at a certain time. When Dr. Hazem and myself were working on the water balance of Jordan, it was the first time, I think, in the Arab region where we introduced water reuse cleaned as part of the water supply and not simply part of the reliability. So the question for you, from your perspective, how could wastewater treatment reuse technology, in particular automation in sludge fluctuation, could be an essential process in sludge disposal, and could be an important effective reduction of the final processing cost? And if you give us your perspective, what kind of paradigm shift toward water security in the Arab region, given the complex challenge, which could be also held back by budgetary concern? But assume that we can look at the budgetary concern, as Alexandra said, by shifting some of the inefficient use to much more smarter use. What will be the ideal example on which you think we can do breakthrough in terms of wastewater treatment, and in terms of moving from this 80% discharge to much lower and reuse much higher number that we have seen so far? Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much to joining here, and welcome all participants. And I will give you a very short look at our technology. We focus on wastewater and sludge treatment. So if you are focused on this position, our position is reducing the amount of sludge and the usage of polymers. As you know, for dewatering or thickening wastewater, you use polymers, and with these polymers, these very expensive polymers, you have to decide what to do with it, with the polymers, and you need to focus on more and cleaner recycled water out of the dewatering and thickening processes. You need to focus on cleaner sludge or as a fertilizer, as we think. Sludge can be a fertilizer in many ways for, let's say, energy crops or something like this, not only for landfill. And with our technique, you use less polymers or less expensive polymers. And polymers are used worldwide for all thickening processes. And as you know, maybe only 5 to 10% of the polymers are used in the dewatering of sludge. You have more polymers in the paper industry or in the milk industry, or let's say in all the industries, you have about 90% of the polymers. But the technique I will give you a short look at is how to save these usage of the polymers, and how to increase the dry substance out of the dewatered sludge, because as less sludge you have to transport, and the more you dewater the sludge, the more efficient it gets, and the less polymers you use, the less amount of money you have to spend for dewatering or thickening the process. And as we talked before, we could try a little screen share here with my screen. So I can give you a small, short look at the technology. I hope you can see all the slide now. The system concept is actually fitted to the dewatering process or the dewatering unit. We are using the system online or inline the system. We can use it as a bypass. And this is only one example how the system looks like. We have 2 mixers, we have 2 sensors, and in the sludge road or in the sludge line to the dewatering system. You see here the brown line. This is the classical sludge line for dewatering the sludge in the dewatering unit. This is a centrifuge. It doesn't depend what dewatering unit you use, and you put the polymers into the centrifuge to dewater the water, the sludge. And I will change the sludge to the slides to the second one, so you can see the how the system works in the wastewater treatment plant. For an example, you can take the industrial or any other wastewater treatment plant. You have some kind of raw sludge coming into the system, and we have a bypass here through a flow meter, a mixer 1 and a sensor 1, and a mixer 2 and a sensor 2, and then back to the centrifuge. So the system is built in modules inline on the wastewater treatment plant, and the focus here is to reduce the amount of polymer. We come up to 30 to 40% less polymer with even cheaper polymers, and we come up to 1, 2, or 3 points more dry substance after the dewatering unit. And this whole system only works with, as Alexander said, with new technology, with artificial intelligence to detect the flocculation, and the dewatering is dependent on the flocculation and the use of polymer with the sludge. And the goal is not to get more out of the dry substance. So the main goal is to reduce the polymer. And I will show you one last slide here below. This maybe most interesting for you to see how the economy efficiency of the system is. We save up to 50,000 euros per year for a wastewater treatment plant. The larger the plant, the faster is the return of invest. And so we have an amortization from 1 to 2 or 5 years. This is just a rough guess. I don't know your system or your plant, but this way you have some figures or some numbers to deal with. We are young. We have actually 5 plants in 5 wastewater treatment plants in the planning, and we have some of very long running systems, 3 to 5 years, that are actually now in this point they have a return of invest of our plant, and they are saving money right now and for the future on the polymer usage. Okay.
Just a quick question before you go, because it's very interesting. If you allow me to use my privilege being the chair, in terms of maintenance cost, is it expensive or normal maintenance cost?
No, the maintenance costs are pretty low because we don't have very large mixers. We have small mixers in the system, and we have some maintenance costs here in the lower part of the sensors, because the sensors need to be cleaned, and let's say 1 or 2 times a year you need to clean the window, or need to check the cleans of the window in the sensors. But the whole system has very low maintenance costs.
Many thanks. Are you done, Georgetown?
I'm through.
Okay. My God, we're on time also. Colleagues, speakers, you've done a superb job going from the big picture to explaining how technology can be adapted to the issue of cost, to the issue of artificial intelligence. And I think I like very much the way our colleague from Saudi Arabia talk about the demand. So there is a demand. You have a very good technology coming from Germany. The question is, how can we use the Middle East Water Forum and the German Water Partnership in cooperation with the industry to provide water technology, sharing opportunities, knowledge transfer from Germany to the Arab world? And I think that's a question that we would like to debate at the end. But now I would like to open it up to Q&A. We have over 70 people registered so far. I see the list here. If you have any question, can you put the flag or let me know? If not, I'm going to continue with the speakers. And here I'm going to be helped by our colleague Lena. Lena, you are here, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, you will manage to see if there are any questions because I can't see the whole
Maybe
list.
if you have a question, maybe just turn on your video so we can see that you're ready to ask a question also.
No, but now we have the train again coming. I don't know, this train coming every half an hour. Any question?
Yes, I can. I would like
Can you introduce yourself if you don't mind?
Yes, if I may. This is Dr. Mohsen Shawarbi. We actually have a project that we proposed to the Ministry of Housing over 3 years ago with the Minister Mustafa Madbouli, was then a housing minister. He's now a prime minister. He welcomed our proposal very much, which started with basically changing industry codes, which are already done in place. And we contacted a major development bank for funding, and we got significant support. And we have investors that are needed for this project to basically manufacture water-saving equipment for household that can save over 60% of water in a household. For example, among the codes that we managed to change, they used to be in Egypt for factories to manufacture faucets, they must produce 12 liters per minute. The new codes can produce 6 liters. So we requested 6 liters. They made it 8 or less, which is fine. It makes it competitive for the company with the technology to save less. And also for toilets, the codes for Egypt is 9.5 liters per flush. We have a technology from a major US manufacturer for 3 liters, and they have been very successful indeed. In Saudi Arabia, which is a country for all users must use 3 liters or less and save the trillions of cubic pounds as well as money. And we wanted to produce this, to introduce this technology in Egypt. And we received the incredible support from the president of Egypt and the prime minister's office. And we are now at the junction to start within weeks of implementation to manufacture these water-saving sanitary equipment, as well as also water treatment systems that have been tested and approved in Europe, in major European laboratories and US. We are supported in technology by the Water Resource Institute of the Ministry of the University of Minnesota of the United States, which has incredible support. It has been created by US Congress with incredible support, and they approved to offer their technology and resources to Egypt. So we are at a junction to start this and make it available for all of the African countries, as well as countries of the Arab League. We received a lot of support from Excellency Ambassador Shahira Wahba, in charge of environment and water for the Arab League. And she had actually thought about introducing a uniform code for water saving industry code to mandate all countries of the Arab League to conform to water saving standards and codes in manufacturing, which is really the first step, is to introduce mandates and then to enforce them. And that, using the initiative of Saudi Arabia, they have managed to achieve significant water saving, and we want to carry the same trend here in Egypt. So we have an investor, and we are about to start this within weeks.
Dr. Mohsen, many thanks. This is good news. Usually we start always with complaints, so that's very nice to know that you have the technology, that you will do it in the Arab world, that you will do it in Egypt, then you will spread it for the rest of Africa as well as the rest of the world. Can you send us few slides of this technology so that our colleague will put it on the Middle East Water Forum website so that we can diffuse it and we can bring it? But that's very nice of you. Thank you. Thank you for your intervention.
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
send me a contact to send the info to
Yes,
our
Dr. Yes, Hassan Halla will send you on the chat room, or he will contact you directly. Hassan, please do so with Dr. Mohsen. Send him so that we can get this information on the technology. Many thanks, and really for your intervention.
Thank you. And I want to say that Dr. Abdulawi Khalifa was one of the first people in this committee requested by the Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, and he's in contact with us until now. And with his blessings, we have been able to achieve a lot.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions from the many participants? No? Then I go back to the speaker. They're going to be put on the spotlight again. Let me come on the question of this technology. Dr. Hazem, you heard clearly Alexandra and Georgian how they put the issue of artificial intelligence, and this was the question to address to you at the beginning. How can we mobilize more of the players for the Arab countries, since this technology is affordable? It could take different form. It could be part of, as Felix said it, as part of a package to the consumer. But somehow there's a mismatch between the demand, the technology, the understanding of the technology, and the way we think in the Arab world. How can we change that mindset? And what do you think we, as member of this region, with countries like Saudi Arabia, which is a leader, Egypt, all those countries that can afford to change, especially with the new generation of youth that we have? What would be, you are the leader in the Arab world in this area. So what do you think we should do?
Well, thank you, Jamal. Again, introduction of new technologies in the Arab world is a challenge by itself. And the reason for that is a multi dimensions or elements that contribute to the lack of adaptation of new technologies within water and sanitation in the Arab world. I will tell you a few points about this. First of all, the technology itself is lacking on the ground. And we hear about all these technologies, but very little of these technologies are being practiced on the ground, in this case, within the domain of water and sanitation utilities. On top of that, in new technologies, there is a gap between availability of technologies and knowing about it. In many cases, experts and utilities, they don't know about this technology, it's available or not. Yes. And for that, we need to do a lot of work. We need to disseminate information, to make some kind of forums like what we do at the Middle East Water Forum or the German Water Partnership, etc., to make this information and the new technologies available to utilities and experts. This is one thing. The other major challenge, since these new technologies are really high tech, especially if artificial intelligence is involved, which means maintenance of these technologies is a big challenge by itself. So in order to introduce these technologies, we have to start from the first early stages of project development, from planning to design to financing to implementation to operation and maintenance. And this is by itself will not work 100%. We have to introduce incubators for new technologies and artificial intelligence within the Arab regions in partnership with the international companies that develop these technologies, as we heard from our colleagues from the 3 companies in Germany. So just to drop the technology and go, this is not going to work. We have to adapt for the technology through education and job training, and also make a real partnership in terms of involvement of the experts, students, youth in startup business together with these international companies, so we have the sustainability of these new technologies to work for many years to come. I hope I'm answering your question, Jamal.
You're answering my question very well, which brings me to another thought that I'm going to bring before the speakers. We talk about technology, but we know there is the large technology, the system that was presented to us, but we can also think about micro PSP, decentralized small wastewater treatment plant, small desalination plant, invoicing and metering, leakage reduction, which is one of the most efficient approach to manage water and sanitation. Then the question for the panel is how these small technologies and smart solution maybe could help us bridge the gap before we respond to the concern that Dr. Hazem has mentioned, that there is not enough awareness, utilities cannot afford this big technology. The question to our German colleague, and here I will leave it to Alexandra, Felix, or Jürgen, to tell us a bit more. How do you see the incremental approach? Is it better to go with large system? Is it better to go with small system? Is there an intermediary phase? And maybe then I can hear from His Excellency Professor Faisal and His Excellency Dr. Abdelkawi, because from their perspective, they used to be on the demand side as a government official. When they present to them technology, how also from your side, I will come back to you, you would perceive somebody coming with large technology, small technology, what is the driving force for you to decide from the government perspective? But let me start with the German colleague, if they can. Maybe we can start with Alexandra.
Yes, with pleasure. Before I come to the smaller and decentralized solutions, I would just like to add one point why the technologies do not really reach the countries. I believe one problem is also that, or I believe the local utilities, the governments, the countries themselves, they should resume their responsibility to select the technologies themselves. Instead, we quite often, or in most of the cases, we see international tenders, which at the end are being won by international EPCs. These EPCs are just employing their technologies, their proven technologies, which they know, which are proven. Of course, this is fine. That's I would do the same. I think they have to secure their margins and to have ease of execution of the project. But nevertheless, the country itself and the utility, the local utility, does not have the right then, or the possibility to say, yes, this is a technology I would like to have. And if we talk about these modern technologies, like my colleagues and I presented, it is not the case that it is always a huge project. You can do many partial things, for instance, for maintenance, and the maintenance is also coming with a system. So we have many technologies which facilitate the maintenance and the operation. So there is not an additional maintenance need. Contrary, the system helps the operator to not to have that much repair and maintenance and so on. And talking about the smaller systems, yes, of course, we have, especially in Germany, we have many companies who produce excellent smaller compact systems, even small complete compact water treatment plants, small desalination plants, which could be used in isolated areas. This is a fantastic solution for isolated areas in the desert, far away from the next municipality. So yes, there are many options, and I think we have to tighten the dialogue with the governments and with the local utilities that those technologies are more known in the countries. Thank you.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think the missing information about new technologies is one of the main reasons for the decision which technology to use in which area. I know nobody can know all is able to know all technologies and how they fit with the plant or with the technology they use. But I think, of course, in the Arab region, you need partners, and all over the world, you need very good partners. They can choose and they can decide which technology fits in the region and in the special plant. They have to decide with the local partners for this technology, and it needs a kind of trust. It needs trust in technology, and it needs trust in the function, and it needs trust in the efficiency of the system. And one word to the artificial intelligence. Well, this is a very, very, very high level, and I think most automatic systems don't use artificial intelligence. They are kind of smart, and they have this normal, let's say, normal automation level, automation level that don't use that much maintenance as you might think. I think many technologies like ours, they try to be as smart as necessary, but only for this main purpose, for this focus. And we don't want to distress all of the plant or other machines. So we are using our focus, and I think many technologists focus on one technique or one problem, and you don't have to mess with this with the artificial or the artificial intelligence or the automation. They are closed in the problem, or they fit right in the system where you need it, and you don't have to mess about it. This is the best way to use new technology, from my point. No.
I think Mr. Sarir, maybe his video is frozen at the moment. We can't hear you. Maybe try again.
His connection is.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, now.
Yes, no, my connection is getting slow. All right. Anybody else from the German counterpart before I ask our colleague from Saudi Arabia and in Egypt to come back to us?
Yes.
Okay. Then let me hear from you. Yeah, Felix.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I just would like to add 2 points. One is that there has been a lot of changes in technology and new technologies that came to the market, as Jochen Gassmann said. Just would like to mention that we, as a company, Erzon, combining the latest blower, turbo, and screw compressor technology together with water aeration technology, already allowed for a number of clients to reduce drastically their energy consumption and the capital expenditure, because combining those technology, for instance, in a medium-sized wastewater treatment plant, would result in having only 4 instead of 8 machines, and obviously 4 use only half in terms of energy. The other part, I think, is the definition of the technology, or definition of what actually is required. That is something where we, as technology companies, we need to sit together, and we cannot come and walk up alone and say we have this. It's only one component, it's only one solution out of the total, which could be 10 or 12. So we need to really organize ourselves and come up, show up to meet the customers and explain to them the total solutions we have. That is important. And obviously, as mentioned before, we should provide and think about the advantages of the energy reduction, because if you reduce your energy cost by 30 or 40%, and that's possible in some cases, that is a huge advantage, and the return on investment is probably 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And last addition I would like to say is that we as technology partners need to get our homework done and look at the funding that is available for those projects in those regions, because there is funding available. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Dr. Faisal, Hussein Faisal, or and Abdul Qawi to give their comment? We're getting to the end, by the way, so I'm doing already the rounding up. Hussein Faisal, do you have any comment on what you just heard?
Actually, all the points are very, very useful, and I agree with it. So I just want to mention that we have, I didn't, mentioned before that it's very important, rainwater harvesting for Saudi Arabia. This is one of the technology where we can, work with the partners to really develop new technology and new practice in rainwater harvesting. And especially during the climate change, there is, some, researchers mentioned that there will be an increase of the amount of water, and in the certain region of Saudi Arabia. So I would like to have, develop new technology in the areas there where we can, use the renewable water for food producing and agricultural aspect to save the non-renewable water as well.
Okay.
Also, water, wastewater treatment and reuse is one of the challenges. We have to really to focus in these areas, and we have to also have a relationship with researchers and technology producers to really help us in this regard. Also, training and capacity building of the human capital is very important for us. We would like also training, and to also to help our human capital to be aware and have the right skills and knowledge about the artificial technology and all these smart water system. And really, I would like to grab this opportunity to thank all of you for your right comments and useful recommendation. And thank you very much. For that, I would like really to utilize this opportunity to establish really a good relationship and to maintain that relationship to be toward a useful outcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you. His Excellency.
Yes.
Abdul Qawi.
Yes.
I can't see you on the camera. I think you're on your mobile. That's the reason, I guess, huh?
No, I'm trying to
save on the internet. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jamal. I think we had a very good discussion about the new technologies, which you are very happy with it. It covers actually our needs. But the main problem I can see, most of the decision makers, they are not aware of these technologies. Yes. And I'm asking our friends to introduce their technology and to transfer this technology to our countries. I think they need to market their technology. They have the solutions, and we need the solutions, but the connection is not there. And we need from our development partners to help us in transferring this technology. There are many ways for to market this technology to our region, because we really in need of it. There is no way that we can save water. There is no way that we optimize the use of water without these technologies.
Okay. Thank you. We are almost at the end of our very interesting seminar. I'm looking at all the questions that are being asked. Ahmad Farani, do not worry. Your question about natural-led solution, I'm one of those fund, as you know, a member of the board of the Commission on Global Center of Adaptation. And pushing for nature to give us solution in this landscape restoration as well and water treatment is one of the priority in the resilience when we have to respond to climate issue. So yes, nature can provide a suitable solution, but also we have to marry it with smart technology. Together, it will be much more affordable. It will be also reaching those that in need, and it also be able to scale out. Before I close, maybe I can ask Julia if she wants, from her perspective as from German Water Partnership, if she wants to give any remark, and also Dr. Hazem or Hassan from the Middle East Water Forum, if they have any final remark. Julia? Are you here?
I think maybe her video is frozen at the moment, or the connection not well. But
okay,
I
but
can
anyway,
also
so I am there.
for German Water Partnership.
So you can speak, Lena. Maybe.
Yeah, I can also
if you have any
speak.
comment at this stage.
Is it fine? Can you hear me? Sorry.
Now we can hear you. Yes.
I've lost the camera, but I will try to say what I say without camera then. No, I just wanted to make one remark that was said before too, that we need to bring together technology providers with those who are in need of the technology. I think this is one of the important tasks that we also have as German Water Partnership, to make this important connections so that the governments, the customers in the countries can choose the right technologies and develop their own knowledge about what is the right technology to adapt for their country, for the individual challenges. And I hope we can make a contribution with events like this, and hopefully also in person next year on trade fairs and conferences and wherever we get in contact.
And maybe I can just add, if you want to contact any of the German speakers from today or interested in other technical solutions, you can always contact me. I'll also post my email in the chat, so I can get you in touch with the technologies in German.
Hassan, somebody is making a lot of noise. I don't know who. You need to. Okay. Hassan or Dr. Nasser Hazem, do you want to close from your side?
Yes, thank you, Jamal. And I would like again to thank all participants for contributing to this, I would say, enlightening online seminar on how to introduce a new technology to the region. I think we need in the future, maybe in the near future, to organize another seminar on how to do the outreach, how we can reach utilities and introduce to them the new technologies that we heard some of them from our German colleagues, maybe in partnership or in cooperation with the German Water Partnership or whoever. And I would like also to remind the speakers to send us their presentations so we can disseminate this information to our 1,400 members registered within the Middle East Water Forum. So thanks again for everybody. Thank you, Jamal, for a very professional job by chairing this seminar for us. Thank you all.
But thank you. I would like to thank everybody. It was an honor and a privilege for me to participate in the discussion, to work with colleagues and learning from other colleagues. So we'll be in touch. You have my email. I am at McGill. I think it was provided to you. If you need any information, I'll be more than happy to provide it. Meanwhile, this was a very good initiative from the German perspective and from the Middle East Water Forum. Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor to be on your board, Hazem, in order to always help you in delivering those important messages for the region. Barakallah fikum. Shukran.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Shukran. Goodbye.
Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا. باي باي.
السلام عليكم. شكرا.
شكرا، مع السلامة.